continue on our journey investing for the mere mortal. We have ahead of us continued practical part where I'll be describing how I'm using FIO Banka and Lynx Broker to buy shares, bonds or ETFs, which stands for exchange traded funds. Please be aware this is Czech Republic specific as I live in Czech Republic. Of course the basic principles would still apply, but the same institutions may not be available in your country. On the other hand, there is a lot of expats living in Czech Republic, and for those this may be pretty helpful. So let's kick on. So what's in store for us in this video? So we will discuss how can we buy stocks, bonds and exchange traded funds. For Czech shares, the best broker in my opinion, because this is what I'm using, is FIO Banka. Then for world shares we can use Lynx Broker, which is just introducing broker for interactive brokers. Then we will discuss what is Central Securities Depository, what is master account, which is used to hold world stocks, what is Securities Dealers Guarantee Fund, what are the advantages of trading securities in case of Czech Republic from the wealth building point of view. So how can we buy stocks, bonds or ETF funds? So in case of Czech stocks or bonds, the ideal and lowest fee is FIO Banka, and you can also connect it with Central Depository for shares, bonds and so on, which means then the standalone institution would be holding the information about your ownership in case of Czech stocks or Czech bonds. So we can also use FIO Banka. There is a possibility to hold Czech shares in master account, which means that it looks like the FIO is holding these shares, and then internally inside the system of FIO is information that this amount of shares belongs to you. It was established in 1993. Then in case of world shares, I'm using Lynx Broker. It's ideal broker for buying foreign stocks, and it's so-called introducing broker, which means that it's just building on top of another broker and providing some add-on services like education or support in your local language and so on. It uses interactive brokers, which is broker founded in 1977. It has access into more than 150 exchanges, which means if you want to take some opportunity, usually you are able to do it through interactive brokers. Now let's do practical examples. We will go over the web pages of the brokers that I was speaking, and then I'll also show you practical real example how the Lynx Broker GUI or system Lynx Plus looks like. Let's go together over things that we've just discussed, which means the broker that I use, and then I'll also share with you my result within the Lynx Broker. Please be aware that many of these institutions are Czech Republic specific because I live in Czech Republic. So again, it may not be available in your country, but general principles would still apply, and there is a lot of expats living in Czech Republic for who this information can be beneficial. So let's begin with FIO Banka. So in case of FIO Banka, it's amazing broker to buy Czech shares, and then you can use it together with Central Securities Depository, which means this is standalone institution which is making sure that your ownership of Czech shares that you bought through broker are actually listed here, which means if something happens to the broker, it's not a problem because inside this depository the information is stored, so Czech shares are simply yours no matter what happens with the broker. Now in case of FIO, there is a lot of documentation how to start trading, what are exchange traded funds and so on. And then the application which is offered to actually buy shares, bonds or ETFs is called eBroker. It's super simple application. That's why this FIO Banka can keep so low cost. As I mentioned, the best to use it to buy Czech shares. It offers you also access into German exchange and United States exchange, but the fees are pretty high compared to Lynx or Interactive Brokers. Now in case of Lynx, this is so-called introduction broker or introducing broker into the interactive brokers, which means it's a broker that simply offers some add-on on top of interactive brokers platform. The reason why I use it in case of Czech Republic is because it offers the Czech support and then many, let's say, education courses and so on, everything for free when you are a member of Lynx Broker. And they also offer their, let's say, platform built on top of Interactive Brokers platform, and this platform that I'll show you in a while is like super simple. In case you don't have any issues with English, you can use directly Interactive Brokers. It's a broker that was established in 1977. Since then it exists. During that time until today it was able to build access up to 150 markets. It's present inside 33 countries and it's using or trading in 27 currencies. So simply said, if you want the best available for individual investor, or if you want to take some opportunity, very likely you will be able to do it through Interactive Brokers. Now, during our presentation, we were also discussing something which is called Investor Compensation Fund. It was created by the brokers, and obviously it's good to check if your broker is actually a member of it. But in general, even though practically the assets, your assets should be divided from the assets of broker, which means if something happens to broker, then your assets like bonds, shares and so on should be intact and you should get them back. But in case there is any problem, this compensation fund, if the broker is part of it, would compensate you at most up to 90% of not paid amount of money after liquidation of the broker, but it's at most up to 20,000 euros or equivalent in Czech crown. This is in case of Czech Republic. In case of Interactive Brokers, the similar fund works inside European Union. At least I'm aware that in case of Interactive Brokers, it's exactly under same conditions, which means 90% and 20,000 euros. Now let's go into the Lynx Plus, which is, let's say, platform built on top of Interactive Brokers platform, but it's trying to make investing as easy as possible. There is also very nice documentation, and inside Lynx Broker itself there is a lot of courses, videos how to do it. So in my case, I'm using Interactive Brokers or Lynx to just buy ETF. In my case, I'm buying ETF fund, which is tracking the whole world, and the ticker is EWDA. So if you want to buy something, you would just write it and then you select on which exchange you want to buy it. So let's say London Stock Exchange ETF. It will load details and then you can buy, sell, or you can continue analysis. There are some basic graphical analysis tools and so on. Then if you are interested in performance, in my case, we do from the beginning of time. So my performance, but I have here just 100,000, so my performance is 27 or nearly 28% for the whole time, which is not surprising because it's like growing or falling slowly as it's trying to track the whole market. So that's it, that's how you can use it. There is always documentation, so it's pretty simple to do. So just create the account and then you can start buying ETF, exchange traded funds, and that's it. So it's that easy. Here I'm sharing with you my results inside FIO Banka. The application to buy stocks is called eBroker. These are my personal results. There is only one niggle, and that's in case of Moneta Money Bank. Here inside the earnings, it does not contain dividends, otherwise every other contains dividends. So it's a limitation of the eBroker because Moneta was actually divided from GE Money Bank. So at this point, my average rate of return, early rate of return, is around 12%. In reality, if dividends would be counted in also for Moneta, it would be around 14% per year. This number represents what would be needed interest rate on saving account to achieve the same returns on invested money. In my case, when I started with investing in 2016, it was actually quite an interesting experience because during the first 3 years until 2019, nothing was really happening. It was just oscillating around zero. Then there was COVID-19, so the shares in my case dropped by 50%. During that time it was like half of all my money. And the only thing which actually brought me through this period was knowing how we humans react. So it's important to understand yourself and psychology, and it's also important to know where to find information. So during this period I was double checking the financial result of selected companies and making sure they have enough money to survive. And it's actually pretty good experience because it's simply showing you hands-on what you can expect or what can happen in case of market. And then I also remembered that one wise man said that during short period the financial markets are actually voting machines, but in long period they are waiting machines. So if these companies were good and they were financially healthy after some time, this will be reflected in the share price. And thankfully I also remembered another wise statement that you should buy when there is a blood in the street. And so during the COVID period, even though during that time no one knew what would happen, but during that period I actually increased the size of my portfolio. And then thankfully when this frenzy ended in 2020, the shares started to grow, which then created for a whole period in between 2016 to today, which is 2023, this amount of return per year. As I mentioned, the dividends here for Moneta Money Bank are missing, so in reality it's like 14% per year. Please be aware that in case of Czech Republic, and I'll be sharing all the links and everything inside the video description, we can count the number of shares traded locally on fingers of our two hands. So it's quite simple to select standalone or single shares. For example, in case of US market, it would be pretty difficult because there are thousands of shares. So that's it, that's are my results. So you can see my own experience and based on that decide if it makes sense to listen to my experience and then inspire yourself by them. So what is Central Securities? Depository is an institution, independent institution that keeps the record of ownership of Czech securities, which means if something happens to broker, then it will be still inside this standalone institution and you will have no issues. And then if you have it inside central securities depository, you can use your shares, for example, as collateral and so on. What is master account? In case you are buying foreign securities, for example securities inside United States, then your broker has master account with local securities depository, and internally inside the system of the broker itself is mentioned that this amount of US shares belongs to you, because you can't, as you are not a citizen of given country, you can't directly own them, so it's solved through so-called master account to fulfill local regulations. Now we have, and usually even inside European Unions, our alternatives of securities dealers guarantee fund, which means the idea here is to increase the safety of investing into the stocks, and all the members of this fund are actually chipping in, and if one of these members has a problem and it's not able to, in case of, for example, bankruptcy, give money back to its clients, then this fund steps in. So it's simply a way how to increase the security of investing into shares. And now, what are the advantages of securities trading in case of Czech Republic? So as per current tax law, but this may change in the future, so every single time double check the most recent tax law, but currently if we hold the shares or equities more than 3 years, then they are tax-free. I mean, more precisely, the gains out of them are tax-free. Then currently, if we trade securities or equities and the aggregate turnover per the tax year is up to 100,000, again it's free of capital gains, and then long-term average appreciation of our shares is around 8% per year. That's something that I'm using as my benchmark. So as you saw previously, currently in between 2016 to 2023 I'm around 13-14% per year. So I'm happy because my target, which I'll be still happy with, is 8%, as I'm a long-term investor and I want to use this money to, for example, pay off my mortgage loan or use them during my retirement. So I'll be more than happy with 8%. Of course, if I have more, then I'm also happy as my money are growing faster. And what about you? How do you plan to invest and protect your money against inflation and grow your wealth?